Victor Grant was about to take a spoonful of his soup when a loud voice interrupted the peaceful chatter of the cafe. "Don't eat that," shouted a boy from outside the patio. Heads turned, eyes widened, and the billionaire froze, spoon in hand. No one could have predicted how this one moment would ripple through both of their lives, setting off a chain of events that would forever change their fates. The cafe was the kind of place where only the wealthy dined. Waiters in spotless uniforms moved gracefully between tables, balancing plates of gourmet dishes. The soft hum of classical music floated through the air, blending with the gentle murmur of conversations. Everything about the place screamed sophistication. Sitting at the best table was Victor Grant, a billionaire known for his sharp business mind and cold demeanor. At 60 years old, Victor had everything money could buy: a sprawling mansion, luxury cars, and an empire that spanned industries. Yet, as he sat staring at his untouched meal, there was an emptiness in his eyes. His days were filled with meetings and deals, but his nights were quiet and lonely. Victor had long ago traded connection for success, and it showed. Across from him sat Megan, his assistant, a capable and efficient woman in her 30s who knew how to manage Victor's demanding schedule. She tried to keep the conversation going, but Victor's attention was elsewhere, his mind drifting. Just outside the cafe's ornate fence, Jamie lingered. The boy, no older than 13, wore an oversized hoodie that hung loosely on his thin frame. His sneakers were worn, their soles barely holding together. Jamie had lived on the streets for over a year, surviving on scraps and occasional odd jobs. Despite his rough appearance, there was a sharpness in his eyes, a quiet determination born from hardship. That day, Jamie's stomach growled with hunger, but it wasn't the smell of food that made him stop. It was the sight of a man in a dark coat moving suspiciously near Victor's table. Jamie's sharp eyes caught something strange. The man in the dark coat, who had been lingering near the cafe's patio, moved closer to Victor's table. Jamie watched as the man pulled out a small vial and poured its contents into Victor's soup. The liquid dissolved instantly, leaving no trace. Jamie's heart began to pound. He didn't know who Victor was, but he knew danger when he saw it. He hesitated for a moment, unsure of what to do. Could he even stop this? But as Victor picked up his spoon, Jamie acted without thinking. "Don't eat that," he yelled, pushing past the fence. The cafe fell silent. Patrons turned to stare, their conversations cut short by the sudden commotion. Jamie stood there, breathless, pointing at Victor's soup. His small frame seemed out of place among the polished elegance of the cafe. Megan looked confused, glancing between Jamie and Victor. Victor's sharp eyes locked onto Jamie, his expression a mix of surprise and annoyance. "What did you just say?" Victor asked, his voice calm but carrying an edge. "I saw him." Jamie pointed to the man in the dark coat, who was now trying to slip away. "He put something in your soup." Victor frowned, unsure whether to believe the ragged boy. Megan quickly signaled for security, and 2 staff members intercepted the man before he could leave. A waiter cautiously inspected the soup, sniffing it before stepping back with a look of concern. "There's something off about it," the waiter said quietly. The man in the coat initially denied everything, but when the police arrived, he broke down and confessed. He had been hired by one of Victor's rivals to poison the billionaire's meal. The revelation sent shockwaves through the cafe. Whispers spread among the patrons, their once pleasant meals now overshadowed by the unfolding drama. Victor turned back to Jamie, who stood rooted in place, his face pale but determined. Victor stared at the boy for a long moment. "Why did you help me?" he asked, his voice softer now. Jamie shrugged, his hands fidgeting nervously. "I just couldn't let you eat it. It's not right to let someone get hurt when you can stop it." Victor studied Jamie's torn hoodie, the dirt on his face, and the sincerity in his eyes. The boy had risked everything to save a stranger. For the first time in years, Victor felt something stir in him: gratitude, but also curiosity. "You could have walked away," Victor said, leaning forward. "Most people wouldn't have done what you did. Why didn't you?" Jamie hesitated, glancing at the floor. "I don't know," he admitted. "I guess I just thought if it were me sitting there, I'd want someone to say something." Victor nodded, his gaze softening. "Jamie," he said, his voice steady, "you didn't just save my life. You reminded me that there's more to life than just looking out for yourself. Victor invited Jamie to sit down, ignoring the shocked glances from the other patrons. The boy hesitated but eventually took a seat. Over a cup of tea and a plate of bread Victor ordered for him, Jamie opened up about his life. He talked about losing his parents, bouncing between shelters, and finally ending up on the streets. He shared how every day was a fight to survive, but he had learned to keep moving forward. Victor listened intently, his usually guarded expression softening more with every word. Jamie's courage and honesty struck a chord in him. It was a raw reminder of the struggles he had long forgotten, having grown up in a modest household before building his empire. "You've got guts," Kid Victor said, breaking the silence. Most people wouldn't have said a word. Jamie looked down, unsure how to respond. For a boy used to being ignored, Victor's attention felt both overwhelming and comforting. "I've spent so long chasing success," Victor continued, "I forgot what it means to really connect with people. But you didn't hesitate to do the right thing. That's something money can't buy." As Jamie prepared to leave, Victor stopped him. "Wait," Victor said, reaching into his pocket. "I owe you more than just thanks. You need a fresh start, and I think I can help with that." Jamie froze, his eyes wide with disbelief. "Why would you do that for me?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Victor smiled faintly. "Because you reminded me of something important today. Money doesn't make you a good person. Choices do. And you made the choice to help me when you didn't have to." Victor called his team, instructing them to find Jamie a safe place to stay. He promised to set up resources to help Jamie get back on his feet, whether that meant education, housing, or even a job in one of Victor's companies. Jamie hesitated, still wary of trusting a stranger, but the kindness in Victor's voice eased his doubts. For the first time in years, Jamie allowed himself to hope. As he walked away that evening, he clutched a card Victor had given him with a phone number and a handwritten note, "Call me if you need anything." Victor watched Jamie leave, feeling something he hadn't felt in years: purpose. He turned back to the cafe, his untouched soup now cold, and realized how close he had come to losing everything. It was a moment he would never forget. If this story inspired you, hit the like button and share it to remind others of the power of kindness. Don't forget to subscribe for more uplifting stories that prove small actions can change lives forever. If this story inspired you, take a moment to reflect on how a single act of kindness can transform lives. Imagine the impact you could have on someone's journey by choosing to step up when it matters most. Share this video to spread the message that courage and compassion are universal strengths. And don't forget to subscribe for more heartwarming stories that show how even the smallest actions can create lasting change and inspire others to do the same.